Lisi Niesner, Reuters. Each year, I keep a running list of exceptional nonfiction that I encounter as I publish the best of journalism, an email newsletter that I send out once or twice a week. This is my annual attempt to bring some of those stories to a wider audience. I could not read or note every worthy article that was published last calendar year, and I haven't included any paywalled articles or anything published at The Atlantic. But everything that follows is worthy of wider attention and engagement. Art of the Personal Essay, Infomastern, Flickr, BuzzFeed, Why I Bought a House in Detroit for $500 by Drew Philp. After college, as my friends left Michigan for better opportunities, I was determined to help fix this broken city by building my own home in the middle of it. The Guardian. There is going to be a destruction. The Obliteration of a Person, by Marion Coots. A small tumor has been detected in Tom's brain. It's not known yet whether it is malignant, but that is possible. It needs taking out and he'll be operated on in about a week. We don't know yet what any of this means, in terms of further problems or none, or possible side effects from the operation. It's a very uncertain time for us. London Review of Books, Diary by Emily Witt. This was just my life. I lived it and sometimes had sex with people. Sometimes I wanted to commit to people, or them to me, but in the past 2 years no such interests had fallen into alignment. I had started on this behavior more or less by accident, still thinking that I would find someone I loved and begin a relationship. Now I sought out sex even when it would lead nowhere. I thought of it as an important way to connect with friends. I saw good sex and bad sex as equally valuable. But there were still some problems, I said. I still didn't feel as free as I wanted to. Sometimes I couldn't cross the barriers that keep people from expressing their desires. Rejection didn't hurt any less, although it didn't hurt more, and I knew better now how to work through it, mostly by having sex with other people. Salon. The day I left my son in the car, by Kim Brooks. I made a split-second decision to run into the store. I had no idea it would consume the next years of my life. The New Yorker. This Old Man, by Roger Angell. Decline and disaster impend, but my thoughts don't linger there. It shouldn't surprise me if at this time next week I'm surrounded by family, gathered on short notice, to help decide, after what's happened, what's to be done with me now. It must be this hovering knowledge, that 2-ton safe swaying on a frayed rope just over my head, that makes everyone so glad to see me again. Medium. Unkindness, by Core Jefferson. Rather than the pain of her youth hobbling her such that more pain was all she had left to offer, she decided early in her life that her sorrows were evidence of too much heartache in the world as it was. Oxford American. Dixie's End, by Sam Anderson. Tubing, more than any narcotic, fundamentally changes your perception of time. The trip downriver takes almost 5 hours, but that's only by the clock. As soon as you leave your last earthly point of reference, the bright, sandy piece of beach you rolled your tube down to start the trip, you slip into a state of religious, mystic timelessness. The Message. How to Be Polite, by Paul Ford. I don't look polite. I am big and droopy and need a haircut. No soul would associate me with watercress sandwiches. Still, every year or so someone takes me aside and says, "You actually are weirdly polite, aren't you?" And I always thrill. They noticed. London Review of Books, Diary by Jeff Dyer. Stroke. This is a Business Reader's The New York Times. Working Anything But 9 to 5, by Dodie Contour. She rarely learned her schedule more than 3 days before the start of a work week, plunging her into urgent logistical puzzles over who would watch the boy. Months after starting the job, she moved out of Fran's home, in part because of mounting friction over the erratic schedule, which the aunt felt was also holding her family captive. Ms. Navarro's degree was on indefinite pause because her shifting hours left her unable to commit to classes. She needed to work all she could, sometimes counting on dimes from the tip jar to make the bus fare home. If she dared ask for more stable hours, she feared she would get fewer work hours overall. GQ. Love Me Tinder, by Emily Witt. I was staying only a mile from Tinder's offices in West Hollywood, and within 48 hours both founders showed up on my Tinder feed. Other memorable appearances on my feed in Los Angeles included a guy holding a koala bear, a guy and his Yorkshire Terrier, in matching sweaters, and a pipe-smoking dandy with a Rasputin beard, horn-rimmed glasses, and a gold ring the exact shape and size of a cicada. Medium. How Much My Novel Cost Me, by Emily Gould. Besides a couple of freelance writing assignments, my only source of income for more than a year had come from teaching yoga, for which I got paid $40 a class. In 2011 I made $7,000. During that $7,000 year I also routinely read from my work in front of crowds of people, spoke on panels and at colleges, and got hit up for advice by young people who were interested in emulating my career path, whose coffee I usually ended up buying after they made a half-hearted feint toward their tote bag purses. Grantland, The Rise of Nintendo by Blake J. Harris. The initial impression was that this was a silly game with an even sillier name. Who would possibly want to play a game where a tiny red plumber must rescue his beloved princess by hopping over obstacles tossed in his way by an obese gorilla? Wired. One startup's struggle to survive the Silicon Valley gold rush by Gideon Lewis Krause. Starting a company was once an urge felt only by the blindly